Hello, this is Dr. Mewborn, and this is Religion in the Public Square. We're looking at the topic of immigration today, and we're part one of this series. Our outline is given to us by Wayne Grudem, so it's good to be with you. Let's go ahead and jump into our study. First, we'll look at the biblical teaching on immigration. The Old Testament says in Exodus 22:21, "You shall not wrong a sojourner or oppress him, for you were sojourners in the land of Egypt." Now, one of the things that you have to answer or look at in this type of thing when we look at the Old Testament is, what is a sojourner? Ultimately, a sojourner is a temporary resident or foreign immigrant, an alien or a stranger in a land. So it's somebody that is not from a certain place, but they have come into a certain place. And that's what it means for the sojourner. You see the journey actually in there. And so it's somebody that comes in. And so people that come to this country, we'd also call them sojourners. So what does the Bible say about sojourners? The Old Testament says in Exodus 23:9, it says, "You shall not oppress a sojourner. You know the heart of a sojourner, for you were sojourners in the land of Egypt." Leviticus 19:33 says, "When a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong." So when somebody comes alongside you, a stranger or a sojourner, when they come alongside you in the land, you shouldn't do them wrong. Actually, you should care for them and help them if you possibly can. In Deuteronomy 10:19 it says, "Love the sojourner, therefore, for you were sojourners in the land of Egypt." And so it's telling us you should love them as they come in. But as you look at this, you got to also see that this person is wanting to be a part of your community. And that's what they're talking about here, because the community of the Israelites were very different than any other communities. They had a set of laws that they abided by. And if you didn't abide by those laws, whether you're a citizen or not a citizen of that community, you would be punished accordingly. And so those are some of the things that had to be looked at. Number one, we see that sojourners were often accepted by the nation of Israel if they acted accordingly to the laws that were given to Moses and that were passed down to the Israelites. Because people could come in and people could be a part of the Israelites, but the thing was, they had to live a certain way. They couldn't just come in and then act however they wanted to. There was a specific way that they had to live, a specific way that they had to act, and they had to come under the teaching and the instruction of the Word of God through the person of Moses. Also, sojourners were allowed citizenship if they benefited the nation of Israel. In other words, if they caused problems in the or if they didn't bring something unique or special to the Israelites or bring in something that could actually benefit them, they were not allowed just to be a part of it. If they were just coming in to kind of take away from the Israelites, actually they could be pushed out. And sojourners that brought harm to the nation of Israel, of course, were punished accordingly as well. So these are the things that we see in the Torah, or also known as the Pentateuch. We see it in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. We see this laid out, that sojourners are to live a certain way with the people of Israel. And so it's very important when you look at that. I thought this was interesting. I found this, it looks like it's a sermon series or a devotion, a 6-week devotional guide on immigration, the church, and the Bible, strangers in the land. And so this is one of the signs that you might see, and this is the sign, caution, there's people running. And what that just is, it's a sign of saying people are coming in. They're immigrating into the country, and not necessarily, of course, as we would think, they're not legal. And so they're coming in their own ways. And so what does this mean? They're strangers in the land. Well, some people have tried to use the Bible to give an answer for their belief systems on it, and they try to maybe make the scripture say a certain thing, and then other people try to get it to say something else. And so when we're looking at this topic, especially when we look in the Old Testament, look in the New Testament, we kind of see there that, yes, sojourners were a part of it. Immigration was a part of all of it. Even the Israelites were sojourners for a time period. But when they went into a land, God made it very clear that they should help that land. They should make that land prosperous. It didn't matter if they were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or Daniel himself going into the land of Babylonia. They were to make that land a prosperous place. They were to help it. They were to encourage it. That's what they were called to do as Israelites and as the children of God. And there's the same laws that we see in the Torah, the same way when sojourners come in. They're to live a specific way that benefits that nation. And so maybe that's what that booklet's about, the 6-week devotional guide. I don't know, but I just thought that was an interesting picture there that some church or some group is going through. What does the Constitution actually tell us? The preamble says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." If you look at some of the wording in this, the verbiage tells us how to have a perfect union, to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide the common defense, promote general welfare. Those words right there are speaking of people that benefit the country, not people that cause harm, not people that cause chaos, but actually create unity and establish justice. So if people are coming in and they're not establishing those types of things, but harm and chaos, and they're actually not providing a defense for us, but actually they're causing issues in our nation, well, they're not for us. And so we have to consider that. Even from our very Constitution, it tells us this is what the citizens of the United States should act like, which they should think like as well. We have a historically different situation today in many ways than things used to be. Today, almost all Americans have an immigration background or story. Undoubtedly, we're a nation of immigrants. Here is the issue, or here are the issues. Illegal immigrants. There's approximately 12 million illegal immigrants in the United States of America. So that's a lot of people that are in our system. And so when you consider that, well, what does that mean for us? So you have to start seeing who are these people and how do they live, how do they act. My wife and I, we built a house last year, and when we built this house or finished building this house, there were people that we came in contact with or met throughout just our time building that that may or may not have been legal, and in our time of just kind of working with different people. And it was interesting to see some of them didn't even speak English. And it's kind of interesting to see how that all played out. But these are people that are in our lives. They might be doing construction. They might be working on farms. There's all kinds of things that they're involved in. And so there's a lot of illegal immigrants in America. The interesting thing is what you see with illegal immigration is a permanent lack of assimilation. This becomes an issue. It's generational, that they're not assimilating into the country very well. They're coming in, but they're not actually connecting in. They've come in, and so they've maybe insecure because they're coming in a certain way. Maybe they're paranoid. Maybe they just feel like outcasts because, yes, they might be in a great country, but they might feel like outcasts because they're not assimilating in with other people of all the different kind of ethnicities that are actually in America. Also, there's usually a permanent burden to law-abiding, tax-paying citizens when people come in and they don't come in legally, and there may not be records, but they still have to get health care. And they're still going to get certain kinds of things that are going to be benefits, maybe even in taxes. So how does that play out? And healthcare system, especially, no hospital can turn away somebody that comes in for help. So if an illegal immigrant comes into a hospital and has a severe issue, that hospital is obligated to help them, because that is their standard. That's the moral standard there. So they'll have to help them, even if they can't pay. So they're going to help them, which is an interesting thing, because all that help will come from somewhere, whether it's from the government, for taxpayers, however you want to put that. It's going to come from somewhere, and it's going to be going right into people that are they're benefiting from something that they haven't put into themselves. and so that's can be a huge burden. Also, permanent struggle for health care and law enforcement. Um, and that's kind of what I was going into with the hospital, but the law enforcement as well. Um, Maybe calls go out to somebody that is an illegal immigrant, or maybe it's some kind of criminal action, criminal act. Law enforcement is just burdened with that. And it's people that don't even belong necessarily in the country for not coming in the right way. And so what happens is law enforcement is bogged down with so many things that they're not able to help other people that are law abiding citizens. And that's why there's a big issue. That's why there's a big struggle with all of this type of stuff. Let me show you some numbers here. And by the way, on these numbers, they fluctuate a lot depending on the year. But this kind of looking over the last 5 years, kind of numbers with that and giving some averages as well. But here we see in this stat, it says, or these stats, an estimated 13 million illegal aliens live in the United States. That's more than I was giving you before, but that number kind of goes up and down. Illegal aliens cost taxpayers 113 billion in state and local costs. It's an incredible amount of money, but they only pay an estimated 10 billion in taxes collected by the state. So they're not paying a lot in taxes, but they're causing a lot to they're costing a lot, leaving a burden of nearly 100 billion for citizen taxpayers. How did those costs break down? General government services 18 billion, education 51 billion, healthcare 17 billion, justice and law enforcement 17 billion, public assistance 10 billion. And so the look here, or the total cost is over 100 billion that we're looking at. The net cost of illegal immigrations as U.S. taxpayers annually is this. And so that's why there's a huge issue. This is what Donald Trump was trying to bring up in the debates. Here's our problem. We're spending so much money, and it's the people that don't necessarily have a right to be just citizens here, but they're here, and there's a lot of money that goes to them. And so this is what a lot of the debates were about a couple of years back. Now let me show you this. How much is your state estimated to spend on education for unaccompanied alien children? I know the numbers are a little small here, but just look at the state of Tennessee. It's over $13 million spent on education. You kind of see those kinds. I'm from the state of Florida. $56 million was spent on that. You look over in California, those are the big immigrant states there. California, over 63 million. So you get a lot of money being spent on alien children, education, those types of things. And these are the numbers that people are looking at when they're trying to vote to make decisions, and that's what's happening here. So annual cost of illegal immigration is believed to be around $135 billion to our nation's taxpayers. And so it's a very huge cost, and that's why a lot of things have been said, like Trump building the wall. Why is he doing that? He's saying, I'll build a $20 billion wall so that we can save some of this money. That's kind of the direction he was going. And so you have to consider that when you're looking at immigration as a whole. So how do you help immigration? Wayne Grudem gives us some steps here, and we're just going to look at a couple in this lesson. But number one, close the borders. This is where you get a lot of that talk of Donald Trump with the wall. Problems with open borders. What are they? Little to no incentive for bettering the United States of America. When you don't have borders and you don't actually create like an actual community of people, and you have standards of living and values and all that type of stuff, if you don't have that, there's no incentive to better that. Actually, if anyone can do anything they want to and come in anyway, then what happens is your nation just dissolves. It actually goes away. And normally it becomes the lesser of all things out there. So whoever's coming in by the numbers, by the greatest amount of numbers, that's who you're going to be. And so that can cause a tremendous amount of problems. Also, when you have open borders, you're allowing criminals, terrorists, and other harmful people to enter your country at will. And that's one of the things that we've seen in this country. The big issue is sanctuary cities. That's been a major talk for the last several months. And sanctuary cities are places that allow allow immigrants to stay there, even if there's some criminal activity in their lives and it's sanctuary. They have kind of a place that they can go, and it just turns out to be just a horrible thing. And so, and we'll talk more about that in slides to come. But this is a really bad deal. If there's no closed borders, think of terrorists can come in and they are never vetted, they are never evaluated. They can do whatever they want to, and that's why there's a huge scare. Also, illegal immigrants often isolate themselves in certain communities. What happens is, and we talked about just a couple slides ago, they don't assimilate into society or into American society. And what happens is that they only have their community, they have their communities, and they normally stay with their people groups and their language, and they don't ever, maybe it's learn English, or they don't go down a certain road that would be very important to go into becoming or bettering this nation as a whole. And so they just kind of isolate themselves and try to huddle up, and things like that. And it's just not good for the country as a whole. We need to be more diverse, and we're not that way if we have illegal immigrants creating their own isolated communities. Here's Trump, and this just kind of course, just a picture of has come up with. He's got the T for Trump on this huge wall, which is kind of funny looking. But there he is, and apparently, he's happy with this, whatever. But it's this idea, let's put a wall, let's protect America and make sure that America is not just this open border place that anybody can come in, because when you do that, the country just dissolves, and that's what happens, and that's what he's trying to be a true patriot in all this. Step 2, we should enact comprehensive reform of the immigration system. Stop chain migration and exercising rational control over immigration. Now, to understand chain migration, Hart-Celler Act of 1965, a system that enabled legal immigrants to sponsor immediate relatives that could immigrate legally to the U.S. This enabled an endless amount of immigrants to come to America legally through non-beneficial means. This is a picture of President Lyndon Johnson signing this act, and he's there, kind of in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty. But this act is so interesting because what it enabled people to do is, let's say, for instance, one person became a citizen somehow. Maybe they just aged out and they became 21 years of age. They've been here for a specific amount of time. They're born here, then they turn 21. They're not only, if they get married, not only their spouse can be sponsored to be a legal immigrant here, but their parents can be, their kids can be, and all those that are attached to them, brothers and sisters, all those that are attached to them can also come over. So before you know it, because of one person that might have many brothers and sisters, or a dad and a mom, and then maybe children, all that kind of stuff, that person could bring in 50 people. I mean, it could be way more than that. But like, let's say 50 people could just come in, and really it started out just it's legal and they can come in this way, but it just kind of is not the way the country is run. People should come through by a process of being legalized. And so this is kind of an interesting act that went through. Also, the benefits of controlled immigration. Certain immigrants are great for the United States. They are great. Certain citizens come into this, certain immigrants come into this country, and they just want to make it better. They are so excited to be here. There's an opportunity for them. They've taken it. They've run with it. They've created great businesses, whatever they've done. There's all kinds of ways that immigrants, and we are a nation of immigrants. So people have come here to create a great life for themselves, and they've done so. And that is just awesome for the United States. We all kind of have that story. So that's great. They help the economy grow while contributing to society. This is really important. Also, more taxpayers can keep the government as well as the economy thriving. That's what's going on there. I want to show you this. This is a kind of a seal for a staffing agency called Sojourner. My brother helps manage this staffing agency, and a lot of what they do is they get jobs for people. And what's so cool about this is that they have a group of people, and a lot of the people that they hire are Hispanic. and they're incredible workers, but all of them have to be legal citizens to get jobs with Sedona. And I love that. It's one of those pictures of, and they get them great jobs and high paying jobs. And so they'll get them jobs that they can come and bring benefits to society and do incredible things for society. And so I just think that's a pretty cool way to look at it. Needed patriotic and educational reforms in the schools and immigration processes. Teach children about the culture and the values of America. This is what needs to be done in comprehensive reform of immigration system. So teaching children about culture and values in America. Protection of the U.S. should be taught in schools. Also, everyone should learn the English language. These things are important because it keeps us all unified, and it keeps us knowing what makes this nation so great. Why does freedom matter? America having an incredible, we have such a freedom here. Even our military, it's amazing to know how huge our military is, but they are huge because they are volunteer based, and people go in because they love our freedom. And so we live in an incredible country that has just incredible rights. And so Wayne Grudem says everyone should learn English, should learn the English language, because that's who we are. And even if you go around the world, they're learning English because it's such a powerful language for everybody to know. And so that's why it should be learned here as well. All right, just kind of a picture here of them doing the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag as a class, and learning about all that kind of stuff. That's very important. Think of a group of diverse workers as well when you look at this, and very skilled workers. See, this has to do with that. Expanding the number of skilled workers who admitted to the United States. Unskilled workers are allowed access into the U.S. at very high numbers. So a lot of people are coming in, but they're unskilled workers. What's so weird about this is that restrictions are often placed on people with higher education, such as scientists, inventors, medical professionals, and others. There are certain work visas or education type visas that are harder to get than just unskilled workers coming in. And so there needs to be some changes placed on that as well, so that more skilled workers can just come in more easily and benefit this country in great ways. All right. Well, anyways, that has been part one of our immigration study so far. And so good to be with you today. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Take care.